Hello, hello, and welcome to Saturday Sound Bites. I'm your host, Veronica V. Sofer, and I've got an amazing guest for you today because here on Saturday Sound Bites, we look for experts who can really help us grow our business, our brand, our organization. So whether you are online, you are in a brick and mortar, you are in the nonprofit space, you will get something out of all of our episodes because we talk about visibility strategy and what that looks like for marketing, advertising, public relations, networking, all of those skills that really tell our stories because that's what we're here to do. So I've got a great guest. We're going to bring her on in just a second, but let's take care of some housekeeping. If you are listening on the podcast, make sure you hit subscribe. We don't want you to miss any episodes of Saturday Sound Bites. And if you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, drop us some comments and my guest and I will certainly connect with you. So just let us know that you're catching the replay. With that, we'll go ahead and get started. I have Sharice Enis joining us. Welcome, Sharice, to Saturday Sound Bites.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So excited about today's conversation. We're going to be diving into marketing and how we can use some of the animation tools that exist out there to really automation tools that are out there and really drive that marketing to us because I think a lot of people might be interested in it and haven't used it yet and are not quite sure what to look for. So we'll go ahead and get started with that. But before we dive into that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Sharice, and I own Sharice & Co., which is a marketing studio, and we specialize in building sales funnels, which really is marketing automation. So we build out automated email campaigns, we build out landing pages, and what I love about what we do is that we streamline the marketing so that it has this order to it and so that it flows. And when it flows, it helps you save time. It makes it more effective. And you just sort of start to see how all the pieces are coming together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some people have a perception about digital marketing and what that looks like. How did you really get into the field? Because it's changed significantly in the last few years. I would say even before COVID, there were tools out there that were brand new. And then during COVID, we saw just a surge of people really moving to the internet for work, pleasure, business, connection, everything. And now we're starting to see people go back into the office space. How did you really navigate that and make sure that you were staying up to speed?
That's a great question. So, just a little bit more background. I went to school for advertising and marketing communications, and so I've been in the marketing field for over over a decade at this point. And so I've sort of seen those ebbs and flows. I remember a time where social media was still very new. I remember a time where it was like email marketing was the thing, and that was
Right.
still sort of like a new frontier. And so I say that to say that marketing it's always been evolving and
Yeah.
changing. And as new technologies come about, new strategies, new tactics, new ways that we, sort of communicate. And so I think when the pandemic happened, for a lot of people, all of a sudden it was like, oh, well, I need to start to be more digital. It sort of
Mhm.
showed the, I don't want to say a weakness, but it showed an opportunity
Right.
for businesses that weren't already using these, and showed that actually, digital marketing doesn't have to be super complicated, and it is a very useful tool to incorporate, even if you have a brick and mortar, even if you're meeting with your clients in person, or doing things locally, there's still opportunity to be had. And so, for me during the pandemic, there was a more influx of people wanting to come online and,
Right.
really build out these sales funnels. And now we are seeing a bit of a shift, but at the same time, I'm still seeing a lot of people, especially those who are experts, who are starting to do more consulting work, because, we're seeing some changes in the economy as well. Starting to want to build up their brands online and build up their
Mhm.
personal brand even. And so email marketing, I feel like, is one that is it's applicable for all businesses. All businesses can really, and nonprofits as well, can benefit from email marketing. I'd say that's one of those cornerstones of digital marketing that we're not going to see go away.
No, I would agree. And I actually was listening to a podcast recently when the interviewer asked the expert, "Do you think emails going away?" And literally, first thing that came out of his mouth was, "Well, how many times have you checked your email today?"
Yep.
And when you think about that answer, it may not be some people's preferred way of communication, but we are still checking our email every day. Just like we go and we check our post office box, or we go and we check our mailbox in front of our house. We're still finding ways to connect with people in those traditional ways of communicating. So let me ask you this. What does automation do differently than maybe a series of emails that someone has written or crafted? How does automation play into getting seen by the right people at the right time?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great question. So even when you're sending out like a series of emails or like an email sequence, like that is automated. But when we're thinking about automation on outside of email marketing, think about it sort of like the whole marketing experience or the customer journey, if you will. You're using that visibility to attract traffic towards you and bring people towards you. And then, in the online space, if they're landing on a landing page where they can opt in or download something or take a next step, that's where sort of the automation starts to take over, where
Mhm.
it's like they enter in their email address and now they're on a page where they get the thank you page or they're getting the free thing that they've downloaded. But even for brick and mortar businesses, automation can help with marketing, but also like the other tasks that you're doing, other admin tasks or sort
Mhm.
of marketing operation task of like automating your social media posts to send out at a certain time, or with your client experience, the sales process. I mean, depends on what your sales process looks
Mhm.
like, but
Mhm.
even if you're having a sales call, having uh, an email, like once you have that sales call and get that yes, where you just check a box and then like, okay, now the contract's getting sent out, the invoice is getting sent out, the invoice has an automated payment plan with reminders and all of those things. So automation, I mean, it really does extend beyond just the marketing piece, and it really does help to sort of save up some time and energy and really that brain space that you use to kind of
Mhm.
do all of the little pieces. But I think the way that it really complements creating visibility in your business is giving that traffic something to do,
Yeah.
especially if you're creating traffic and generating traffic 24/7. You want your website, even if your clients are going to eventually come into your business, you want your website to be able to do some of that heavy lifting for you so that it's working even when you're not working. So whether
Mhm.
that's um, having it so that they can book that sales call or book that appointment to come in and visit you right there on the website, and then having those automated email reminders of their appointment. Those little pieces of automation really make for a smooth client experience.
Mhm. Yes, I would agree. And, I think when we are constantly thinking about development and generating business, and we're doing all those things you mentioned, having brain space, sometimes when we need to be on, we lose track of those little tasks that could be done. And from a marketing perspective, we may have a great plan flushed out. We could have all that content ready to go. But if you don't have the capacity to push the button at the time in which you decided to do that, then you're going to lose some opportunity. So I love how you correlated that to admin work, but then circling back to marketing, it's really the same process, isn't it?
Yeah, I think sometimes that piece, like we focus a lot on, attracting clients and on the marketing strategy, not much on like the operational side of
Right.
marketing and what's happening. And I think that's where the automation really comes in to help with the operation and sort of implementation piece of those strategies, and make the most of them so that it creates more efficiencies, right? Because when you have those efficiencies, now you can scale your business, right? When you don't have to
Mhm.
worry about having those bottlenecks that touch points can, where you have to have like a human touch point can create.
Yeah. No, I think that's fantastic advice. And what advice would you give someone who is maybe launching a new business and they haven't quite got a team yet, or they're maybe still working out of their home? what's some advice you would give someone when it comes to their online marketing that could really kickstart it to the next level?
My advice is to build an audience, build an email list particularly. I mean, social media is great and you want to build, an audience and visibility on social platforms, but your email list is something that you own. You own that contact information. And another way to think about it is like, this is a list of people who are interested in your business, a list of leads. And so it's like, what better asset to have in your business than a list of people that you can contact who are interested in the thing that you do. So that's where I always recommend focusing. And I think that's true whether you're a nonprofit, whether you're a brick and mortar, what e-commerce, or in the coaching or consulting space. I find that having an email list is so important, and I've seen that be beneficial in various businesses, because while I do work primarily with coaches and service providers in the online space, I also have taken on projects with e-commerce businesses. I've taken on nonprofit, and that's one of the areas we always end up coming back to is the email list. It's just, and there's so many inexpensive tools you can begin with that are pretty user friendly when it comes to building an email list. So I feel like it's budget friendly, and in the long run, it's going to really help you as you start to layer in other digital marketing strategies.
I think that's great. Do you have any recommendations for some of the tools that you think are budget friendly and that meet that criteria to really help you? Because I think sometimes people do a lot of research, but they're not quite sure what's going to be a good fit for them. Have you found any that, just generally speaking, are a great starting point?
Oh, I love that you brought up this question, because when it comes to the tech, I find that what I always want to say is it really depends, right? It depends on your type of business, and what your goals and your situation. And so my advice when you're thinking about choosing the tech is you want to think about, does it fit in your budget? Does it have the features that you're looking for? Like specifically the features to support your strategy. To me, those are like the two most important pieces, because you want to make sure that it has that. Because at this day and age, there are actually so many CRM tools that are great. I personally really like Active Campaign, but I also see a lot of people get started with MailChimp, and I think that both of those options are great, and it really depends on what you're looking for. Personally, I feel that Active Campaign can grow with you, and I find it a little more user friendly than some of the other platforms that I've tried. So that's like my number one for email list building. But yeah, I think for the most part, it's, just trust that most of these tools available today are pretty good. It really comes down to is, does this fit in your budget? Does it have the features to support the strategy and tactics that you're looking to use?
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And I think you're right. Everyone's going to find something a little bit different or that's more compatible with something they're using. But honestly, I think you gave us some really good starting points, especially for someone who maybe is still doing it the old fashioned way and Outlook and copying and pasting and database merging.
Yeah.
We got really good at that for a long time, but there are some new, really great tools out there that people should be looking into. So, Sharice, very good advice. How can people connect with you? What are some of the programs and ways that you support other people?
Yeah, so I mean, the best way you can connect with me is at shariceandco.com, and I'm also active on Instagram. And what I do and my marketing studio does is we provide both that sales funnel strategy, and we then offer implementation, because what I've noticed is that there's a lot of strategy advice and there's no shortage of places to get strategy, but it's really hard finding implementation, and that's where the cohesiveness can be lost. And so we specialize in doing both the strategy and then offering the implementation support on building those automated email marketing campaigns and getting your email list set up, creating landing pages and web pages designed specifically for sales funnels. So that's how I support people.
That's awesome. And we will make sure that all your contact information is definitely in the show notes because we want our guests to reach out. Any parting words of wisdom as we wrap up this episode?
Yeah, my parting word of wisdom is to not be afraid of technology and automation. It really can be a lifesaver. I know that sometimes automation and technology can get a bad rap, especially sales funnels, but it really can make things a lot easier in your business and in your life.
I agree with you 100%. Sharice, thank you so much. This was really great content. And I know that our listeners and our viewers are going to learn from you. So I hope that everyone with questions makes sure that they reach out and connect with you.
All right. Thank you so much.
You bet. All right, guys, this wraps up this episode of Saturday Soundbites. I hope you got all those nuggets from Sharice. Enis, her contact information is in the show notes. Don't be afraid of these sales funnels. Don't be afraid of digital marketing. There is a way to connect with people, especially with those good email lists that you have. So learn more about automation. It is going to really help you save time and connect with folks. So we'll go ahead and wrap up this episode of Saturday Soundbites. If you are listening on the podcast, make sure you hit subscribe. We don't want you to miss any episodes. And if you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, drop us some comments and we will be sure to connect. So we will say goodbye by sending you lots of positive energy.